So today
We're reviewing
Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
we saw Indiana Jones, The Dial of Destiny, about a week and a half ago, and we're just now getting around to reviewing it. Yeah. We're joined today by our dad. And what are your initial thoughts? What were your initial thoughts of Indiana Jones? You've seen it 2 times now.
Yeah, I thought it was good, and I'm a big Indiana Jones fan. Love the whole series. Obviously, Raiders of the Lost Ark is still my favorite, followed by The Last Crusade, probably this one, and The Crystal Skull next, and then The Temple of Doom. They're all good, but this movie here was one that I liked. Definitely had a very good beginning and end to me, and in the middle, obviously because I'm an Indiana Jones fan, it was all good. And but I can see where this movie did not get high reviews across the board. I really don't care about that, but I do believe a little respect to Harrison Ford, the age he is, being around 80, to still be able to do a movie like this. Obviously, for a guy being a little bit older, was a good thing to me, and so I thought it was good.
Jake, what were your initial thoughts?
Yeah, going to this movie, this was obviously the 5th installment of the Indiana Jones franchise, and going into it, I was expecting it to be kind of on the level of the 4th one, and I did not expect it to reach the levels of the first 3, because again, I agree with my dad on that one. The first 3 are still far superior. I mean, that's just the nostalgia coming back from those, growing up and watching those movies. But this one surprised me a little bit in some ways, and I think it was a little bit better than the 4th one. But I'll obviously get my positives and negatives in a minute. But I walked out of the theater enjoying certain parts to it, and yeah, I would say it wasn't great, but it was not bad either. I think it was a good movie.
Yeah, obviously the Indiana Jones trilogy, the first one's a perfect movie, like we already said. The second one is a ridiculous movie, but it's still good. The third one is a solid movie that is close to the first one, and the 4th one is just okay. So this movie, obviously, with Harrison Ford's age, he's not going to be able to pull off certain stunts, and it's just his character is known for going up against these big villains. So overall, my initial thoughts are this movie was kind of disappointing in my opinion. There's stuff I liked, but overall it would rank for sure at the bottom of the Indiana Jones movies. We want to go to our positives.
Yeah, positives for me is, like I said, it's Raiders of the Lost Ark. I'm an older guy, so I enjoyed this movie since I was a kid. It reminds me of really good memories in life, and I've enjoyed the entire series. So positives wise, for him to be able to do this, to keep the series alive, was great. I wish we could have, usually I'm not so sure about sequels, but I believe he's done a good job of keeping this going, and obviously everything comes to an end eventually. And again, I think the positives were that he was able to make the movie, continue the series, and I think it was good.
Yeah, positives, definitely. I mean, Harrison Ford being Indiana Jones is probably one of the best things of the entire franchise, and just the role he plays. And he has the same kind of charisma as he does in the Star Wars universe as Han Solo. And he just has that kind of pull and appeal to his character. But I think about this movie, I like the storyline with just the artifact they were going after. And I really like the tie-in to the previous movies. It really did feel like, without spoiling anything, it really did feel like a sequel to The Last Crusade. Because, I won't get into it right now, but the very beginning definitely was very, very good. And I thought to me, this movie, the first act and the final act were great, and the middle was okay. There was parts of the middle that I liked and parts I didn't like, but the beginning of it and the end was really, really good, and that's why, to me, this one worked better and I liked it better than the 4th one. But I would say my best positives out of this one would be the storyline, the artifact, Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones, and just continuing the franchise in a good way, but it didn't seem like it was forced at all. Like it seemed like it was a storyline that he would have like got involved with, and just made sense to his character.
Yeah, I agree. There's certain ways they go with the story, which I did like. I like them exploring more artifacts, which in this universe, I mean, that's an obvious thing that's going to happen. I like some new artifacts they bring out, and without spoiling, it's impossible to get into it, but I do like some stuff they did at the beginning and the end. And Harrison Ford is obviously perfect as Indiana Jones. He's always going to be a positive because even at the age he is right now, he's still perfect for the character, and he still makes it work with what they do in this movie. And yeah, the other story things I can't get into, I liked what they did, certain stuff you see, and that's about it for the positives. Why don't we go into our negatives?
Yeah, I won't be long on this one. The negatives, there's really no negatives to me. I mean, the only thing that would be negative
No negatives?
is no negative is the fact that he's getting older. There's certain frailties to it that, get exposed to a point. It's sad to see him getting older for me, and it's sad to see the series potentially come to an end. Even if someone picks this up, it's going to be different. So it's just a great series of movies, no negatives. I love it. And I think, honestly, if people throw negatives into it, there could be a sign of what happened from COVID. This movie got extended probably a year and a half or 2 years because of COVID and all that BS. And so maybe that affected it a little bit, but no real negatives.
Jay, do you have any negatives for me?
The negatives for me have nothing to do with I thought the special effects were great. I should have mentioned that in the last one. I thought there was all that worked. I mean, the final act was hard to believe how they pulled that off and just what was going on in that scene. But negative-wise, I was very concerned about a certain character in this movie just from stuff the channels we watch, and I went into it expecting to be kind of really frustrated with this character. And I ended up not disliking this character as much as I thought I would. But it was just, to me, the female lead, whoever it is, the person that was working with Indiana Jones in this movie, I think it's his goddaughter. Goddaughter. And she kind of was annoying in certain aspects, which I think was designed to be annoying at certain times. And there was another character that I think could have been cut out of the film completely. Not her son, but the kid that was there. Just really, I think if you cut him out, that gives more screen time to Indiana Jones and her. Make those two work a little better, or not really Indiana Jones, but her. And the only reason why it didn't work for me in some ways was the lack of respect to Indiana Jones, and just when you disrespect the character in certain ways by just how they're treating him and just how they're acting about him, it's like, I understand they're supposed to be annoying in that way, but it's hard as a fan of Indiana Jones to sit there and be like, you can't disrespect this character. I mean, without him, this piece wouldn't be here. Just show a little more respect to Indiana Jones from those two, and maybe I'll like those characters more. That's the whole thing about Harrison Ford, is he's a likable character. He gives no reason for you to dislike him as a character, but there's certain things that's like, how am I supposed to get behind her going forward? Barring anybody but Chris Pratt, it's going to be very hard to follow up Harrison Ford's Indiana Jones. That's really the only negatives are those two characters, but the villains I thought were really good as well. They were much better than the villains in the fourth one, to me at least.
Yeah. My main negatives are for sure, like Jake was hitting on it, and there's plenty. That main girl character and the kid just did not need to be in this movie at all. And before I get any comments about any women-hating, bashing things, I've praised so many characters in movies that are female leads, so don't even go there. But yeah, like you said, just was not likable characters and was disrespecting the main character a lot. Now, Dad did bring up a good point that Indiana Jones does figure out something in the middle that kind of makes it to where it helps out his character a little bit because he figures out something they didn't. But there's a lot of this movie where he doesn't know what's going on and they do, and that was a little frustrating. But he fixes the car.
I thought he knew more than they did overall.
I don't know, but here, let me just.
But he did solve certain things, and I didn't get to say this. But
I didn't even get to elaborate on points.
I was good with the female lead.
Alright, so personally, she was annoying as crap in this movie, but that's just my opinion. But my other main negatives are, this is a main negative I've had in so many movies, when you have these kid actors in these movies, that nothing against them personally, but you've got a kid actor that's 10 years old, going against a bodybuilder guy. Well, if you need to walk in, just walk in. We have a live studio audience here, just walk in. A live studio audience here, hang on. Alright, so you have a little kid going against a bodybuilder guy, 7 feet tall, and the realism aspect is just ridiculous. And those were big negatives because the focus should be on Harrison Ford and these main characters, and I'm getting cut off, so what do you have to say, Jay?
I just have to say, this is not just this movie. There's been a lot of movies that they had this problem that's came up, like in just recently, The Predator, this was very evident in that movie. Then also Black Adam. I mean, if you take these kid characters out, these movies can be elevated so much higher.
My main negatives are definitely the supporting characters, and my main negative though, honestly, is not even that the main supporting characters. It's mainly just about not a lot happens in the middle, and I was hoping what happens in the third act would have been more of this entire movie. If that was the case, this score would have been way higher. But why don't we go into our final thoughts and score?
If I was giving a score, and honestly for me, Raiders of the Lost Ark is 10 out of 10. The others were 8.5, 9, and above. This one here, I'm going to go with an 8, 8.5 as well. Just because I like the movie, but again, there's certain things they can't help that go along with age and things like that. And it's honestly hard to find any sequels that end up matching the original movie.
Unless you're talking about the John Wick series. Jay, you have final thoughts and score?
Yeah, I mean, overall, to me, in the world we live in now, I was expecting, I just didn't want them to ruin the character and just disrespect the character from the past, and they really did not. Like, as far as wokeness goes, it really was not woke, in my opinion. So that was definitely a positive to me, because I was expecting Lucasfilm and Disney, who's you saw what they did with the last few Star Wars, yes, but to me, it was not woke at all, which is a great surprise, and there was a lot to like about it. The beginning and the end were great, and it continued the story. I liked the storyline, and overall, like I said, I walked out of the theater enjoying it, and I think I'm going to end up going with a 7 out of 10 for this one. And again, I know K&I's scoring systems differ, but it did not reach the 8, 9, 10 levels of the first three.
No, this movie had great potential from the start, and then, like I said, things at the end had amazing potential. But there's just a lot of this movie, 80 to 85% of it, that it was somewhat entertaining, but it was not what it could have been with the great potential it showed. So my final score, I'm going to be sitting at, he might kill me over here when I say it, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10, because, I mean, if I was just reading the beginning and end, it's probably 10 out of 10. Because it was thoroughly entertaining, and I was just so entertained, and it was really good for these parts. But a lot of this movie, just not much is going on, and the villain is good, that's a positive. It was a really good villain. Caecilius and Doctor Strange, great villain.
Two henchmen.
But yeah, overall, this movie just did not reach the levels it could have, and it showed potential, but unfortunately, this movie just didn't work for me. But no disrespect to Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones.
Anyways, guys, thanks for watching our non-spoiler review of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Let us know in the comments what you thought about this movie, and go ahead and rank your top 5 in this franchise, and which one's the best and which one's the worst.
And we'll have to review the other Indiana Jones as well.
Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.